Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to F1 Manager. This is episode 58. As we go to head into the next race weekend, Jago has leveled up. He's now an 80. Nice round number there. That's kind of the happy zone for me when you get 80 plus, because there's hardly anyone who's a 90 plus in this game, and there's definitely what feels like a distinct difference between those that are the 80 plus and what you get out of them, and those that aren't. So Jago reaching 80 is good, and that is coming off of the back of feedback, which used to be about 68, 67 when we first started this. He's picked up about 15 points over the last couple of seasons. Actually, I think Jago was a little bit higher. I think he might have been about a 72, but plus 10 to that, which means a plus 3 to his overall. He was maybe a 76 when he started, so that would make sense if he was about a 70 anyway on that feedback when we first began. And pit crew management at an 83 also leads to decent times. Communication doesn't matter. He's been with Porsche for a very... Our next vote for a regulation change is happening. So a new sporting regulation, and it's a new scoring system that would see the top 8 drivers bring home points with a smaller gap between first and second place finishers. That doesn't sound good. Fastest lap point would go away. I do like the double points for last race going away, but this is seeing the old scoring system, isn't it? Coming back? Or a variation of the old scoring system, but it looks a lot like the old scoring system. I'm very much against this. More drivers getting points is better. I like that the very, very back end of the field isn't necessarily scoring points, but I would like to see it expanded, not shrunk. That's not looking good. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Only 4 against. A lot of teams for it. I don't know why, like, say, Haas or Aston Martin would vote for that. It's less access to points for teams like that. AlphaTauri. When they're that far down the grid, why would you? Well, that's unfortunate. It's going to happen. Paul Ricard a year ago saw all 20 cars finish the race with only Lance Stroll a lap down. But we were, a ways behind. Let's see, who was... Lewis Hamilton won last year. 125.22. About 40 seconds behind in 12th place. Porsche was always further back, 25 seconds down on his teammate. I think we could definitely do better this year. 12th and 16th was not good. I would expect to see us in the points, but right now, at this stage in the season, we're barely a team that's able to score points unless, foul weather comes your way, which we don't have and haven't had much of this season.
It's Grand Prix time here in Le Castellet. The very first horseless carriage race was organised in France in 1894, and since then, the carriages have only gotten faster. For the Grand Prix here, Paul Ricard boasts a fine collection of low, medium and high-speed corners. The scene curve is taken at breakneck speed, right before heavy braking at Beausset. This is an all-rounder test for cars and drivers alike. We're about halfway through the season now, and there's still plenty of time for everything to change. All eyes are on the teams and how they tackle the rest of the year. The competition is on.
Pretty crazy practice sessions. Porsche spun out 3 times. There was a red flag. Porsche also had a lockup. He ended up at 48% track acclimatization and was still trying to find the upper end of setup late on. The 20 minutes missed through the red flag absolutely hurt that a lot, but just not finding it. Really not finding it. Lap times were good otherwise for him, but only 48% acclimatization, and last we were checked in, it was only 92% on the confidence. Albon, total opposite. he found the setup really fast in FP2. We chanced on 97% confidence in between FP2, FP3. I made one little tweak to that, which locked us in at 100%. So he got a ton of track time, and of course, he misses FP1. That red flag was in FP1. So in the other two sessions, Albin just ran and ran and ran and ran, and ends up at 80%. It's only the second time he's ever been ahead of Pourchaire, and the other time was by a few percentage points here. I mean, he's 32% ahead of him. It's crazy how that ended up happening. 3.5 minutes left in the session. I'm thinking about, we've done a banker lap. We're only P11, P12, and I've thought about going with a fresh compound to make sure we get out of Q1, but I'm taking a little bit of a chance here, assuming that we're going to have a good enough lap time. Second run on the same set of tires. Not overly confident with that at the moment. Russell looks like he'll put in a better time. Perez looks like he'll put in a better time. Does that mean we're going to be down in 13th, 14th? Possibly worse. There's a pretty healthy gap to the back five, though. So here's to hoping that they do not significantly improve their times here at the end of the session. If Pourchaire is out of Q1, then 100% new engine for him. Pourchaire's been closing up fast on Stroll. He's getting some dirty air here at the end, I would think. That could be hurting his lap time. It does. We are down to 13th and 14th. Perez 1/1000th ahead of Albin. But we are safely out. Not by much, though. Looks like we might not be seeing Q3. As we start our banker lap here in Q2, I saw the danger that was our pace. Our pace did feel a bit off. Look how close we are to each other. I am not using that twice used set today. We used a fresh set. We're going to use another fresh set for our next run. That will hurt our chances if we get to Q3, but I'm afraid of us getting to Q3 at this point. 8th and 9th after that run, so that's good. It's a good start. Right now, the Red Bulls are off the pace massively. Verstappen, you tell that was a huge mistake on his lap. Lockup of running wide, something along those lines. All right, and away we go at the back end of the field. So we are the last two heading out for this one. Russell just ahead. Alonso, they're going to benefit from position as well. Plenty of time left, so we are not in danger of getting eliminated without starting our lap. We definitely have the advantage of the most rubber being laid down out in front of us. And we get the laps started. It's very close. Not in front of us, though. I mean, we're a full 1/10 of a second down on anyone in front of us. We'll see if we can improve to that sort of level. This is more about holding off those behind us. It's not looking so easy for that part. Ocon goes top. Bottas goes ahead of us. Magnussen is behind, so we're ahead of at least one car. We need 5 to get out of Q2 here. Right now it's not looking great for that, as we are now already out of the bubble. Vettel goes ahead too. We must improve time, otherwise we are 100% out. Perez only 13th, so that's 2 cars we've beaten. And we're going to cross. Pourchaire improves, but only beats Albin. And Albin... Oh, same. Both cars improve, but neither one improves to beat anyone else. They swap positions and they swap back, and we are out in Q2. That is P12 and P13, and that is our lowest qualifying positions on merit of the season.
Race day has arrived and the time has come for these drivers to fight it out wheel to wheel.
Qualifying went well for Williams, as attested by their strong position on the grid. Now it's all about finding that edge for the race itself. Although Red Bull must be disappointed with their qualifying, they have resources aplenty. Let's see if they can rise up from their grid position with a strong race. And the race will be taking place under blue skies. That means the teams should be able to apply their strategies without any added complications.
Absolutely right. So brace yourself for a fantastique conclusion to the French Grand Prix.
Being that we're starting from the back half, we're going to take the let's be fast at the end of the race kind of route and just tuck in the early stage. So that's hard to medium. We're going to under fuel only by a lap. And Pourchaire is going to start from the back of the grid. He's going to start from the back of the grid because we've gone ahead and taken that engine penalty. If he was only 13th to begin with, we might as well take on the penalty and get that extra engine in our pool for the remainder of the season, so we've got what we need. Last year we made it without taking any penalties, but late in the season it was rough going in some of the races as we were a bit short. With that extra engine, I think we're going to be just fine this year on making it to the end, especially now and roughly halfway through the season already.
We have beautiful blue skies overhead as the drivers line up on the grid. Here we have Alexander Albon. They might not be in the top 3 spots, but things could change fast once the race gets underway. And looking at the second Williams car, with their starting position in the back 10, they'll have their work cut out for them. Will their hard work pay off today? This is it. It's time for the French Grand Prix. And it's lights out and away we go.
Following some penalties, we had an AlphaTauri and an Alpine on the front row, with Leclerc and Hamilton starting from row number 2. We are at least starting off aggressive to see what we can do. Albon up to P9 and P8 now, as he's making some progress through the field. Get on board with him as he's making his way through. He just got around both Russell and Vettel, but Russell on the outside. We'll have the inside here and continue in through the next corner, and probably should be in that position here long term, and appear to be so. So let's go ahead and settle in with Albon, as we've already made some gains. Pourchaire also has made his way through a little bit as he's up to P18. Tire compounds, we are far from alone in the hard to medium range. In fact, it looks like more than half the field has opted for it. Sonoda is going to be in a world of hurt in this race, I would think. Probably Stroll as well. 2 Red Bulls outside of the top 10. Well, they have a rough start to their game. Definitely want to get around Schumacher if we can, and we are up beside him now. A lot of cars going on the hard compound. I think our ability to conserve tires is going to allow us to still win. A big chunk of the field does. And also being that we're on the hard, instead of just settling in and waiting, we want to try to go forward if and when possible, as we get up beside the McLaren. Just barely, though. Can we get him through cornering? We cannot. No, we're still up beside him, and we get him on the exit. Nice. It used to be such a weakness for Pourchaire, but no longer. Multiple cars have crashed right in front of us. There's Red Bull involved. Gonna get into the back end of the Haas, it looks like. Oh, the AlphaTauri.
And it's crystal clear who was in the wrong there.
AlphaTauri leaves the track, re-enters the track, and Verstappen and Vettel to the back, because Albon had passed him a while ago. So that's P8 and P14 now. We're already putting Stroll under pressure. Stroll's on that medium compound. The Aston Martin is much faster than it used to be right away. Just a reminder of that. gap like. Alonso is nearly out of DRS, but Bottas and Albon are close behind. Magnussen 2.5 seconds down, so there's where our gap has opened up, and I think that's where the collision took place. And then 3.6 to Perez, so double gap there as the field opens up. There is that Haas in the gap in between your front runners and your second group. Vettel pits a few laps later. Verstappen already well off the back, and you can see how far those two are behind here in the early stages. You'd figure Vettel will not feature in the points today after that one. Stroll goes past Ricciardo. It's Perez's pace that he's following there. And we've nearly got guys in DRS behind us. Let's not let them get in DRS. Let's get out of their range and see if we can't catch up to that group ahead of us.
Looks like a good move for Williams.
Albon gains 2 positions. Yes, he does. Alonso and Bottas both. Nicely done there. It's a DRS thing. That is a DRS thing, as that group is now 2.5 seconds back. So you've got a front 5, and then we've got a train of 4
Alfa Romeo
following.
just moved up a
and
place.
It's constantly changing who's at the head of that second train. Magnussen in between, and Porsche. Are we gaining on those guys? Yes, 1.3. Go ahead, go aggressive as well. Let's close that up. Get with that group. Left behind a potential train behind us. Let's engage with the train in front. And we are within 1 second now. Within 1 second. Go ahead and
Looks
go
like
balanced.
that was a position gained for Alfa Romeo.
Albon competing at the front of his train, so that's good. That means he's got decent pace, especially on the hard compound. That's a good place to be. And Porsche has now made it to that train ahead, so he can drop to standard and probably conserve some fuel for a little bit. Let's see what's going on with him, as he's already looking to overtake the Alpine of Ricciardo. But I'm not worried about that right now. We've got the train. And Albon runs wide.
That's a good overtake from Alpine.
Ricciardo with the overtake, but he's still on his train. It's weird that that's Perez leading this, and he's only in P11. And Verstappen's only in P19. Neither Red Bull in the points. Porsche, who started last, is right there with Perez, who I think started 11th. Currently 12th.
And a new position just gained by Williams.
Albon back to the front of that train. He lucked out that his mistake didn't cost us anything. Norris 2.2 behind. Small train. They're not far back. Porsche goes around Ricciardo, but in doing so, in their battle, he loses contact with Perez and Stroll. So just as we get the fuel where we wanted it to be, he makes an overtake that puts him back. Ricciardo goes through. They are 1.5 behind. And now Gasly, Schumacher, Norris have all made contact. Okay, we go through with DRS and get into the happy zone. Okay, so that front 5, 3 of them are on the medium compound and will be pitting quite a bit sooner. Of my group that Albon is in, again, multiple drivers on the medium, so those on the hard are in a good state. But we don't know what's going to happen in between the 2 stints. How much time will they gain when they come out on fresh hards? How much faster will they be over those on the hards already? But the same can be said of when they come out on the mediums. How much quicker will they be as they go through that second phase of the race?
Alright, Dom.
Alpine just advanced.
Here's how the track has stretched out for the time being as we're seeing Pourchaire battling for position, but I'm not too worried about it. Go back to neutral here. Yellow flag.
Keep your head down.
Norris spins on turn 11. Okay, so gap to the leader. Ocon is currently that, just a tenth ahead of Hamilton. Is again DRS.
Keep pushing.
Powerful
Keep pushing.
machine overtakes on every train. Every front runner
Mercedes moved
in
up
every
a
train
place.
is losing that position periodically. We have Ocon and Joe, and Hamilton, and the two Ferraris. All within 1 second. 5 cars within 1 second. Very close together. Russell leads our train currently with Alonso, Albon, and then that's it now.
Looks like
As
that was a
Bottas
position
is
gain
more than 2
for
seconds. He's
Alfa
2.5
Romeo.
seconds down, so he's out on his own now in P9. 3-car train for 6, 7, 8. The other two are both on the mediums, are they not? They are. Bad news there is that's, somebody on the hard compound going to be alone. Bottas will probably eventually catch back up to us and we'll have to run together. But Magnussen alone in P10, 20 seconds down. Not quite a pit stop, but getting there. Perez, Ricciardo, Stroll, Schumacher, Pourchaire, Gasly, all a pit stop down and all in one big train. Pourchaire at the back end of that at the moment. We have done some good things in terms of recovering a bit of fuel, refilled the battery, recover a little bit more. But as we go neutral, I have a feeling we're going to start making our way back forward through that train. And then Norris, Tsunoda, the 2 cars that are most off the pace, plus the 2 that had their incident and are well behind.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Pourchaire moves forward. As expected, we go neutral, and he's making his
And
way
there's
through
an
this group.
overtake from Williams.
We get the overtake on Stroll, and we're already having a look on Perez as well. Not quite a double in terms of immediate, but nearly got Perez there. And I think, we're going to get him here. I think we're going to get him here because we're going to have the inside in a moment for the double. We're going to go right on through. I don't need to get to the front of the train. That wasn't where I was trying to get. I was just trying to get up to second position, but there you go. To the front we are. Pourchaire, not that far behind Albon, really. Albon is more than a second ahead of Alonso now, so we have left the 2 medium compound runners behind. They're also going to push back into Bottas and probably hold him up a bit, so that's good for Albon's race, as Albon is now going to clearly be alone in P6. What you're getting is, medium
Alpine
compound runners
just
are
advanced.
getting time to make their pit stop. Time to make their pit stop. They are losing pace, and you see a whole bunch of runners making their stop now. So that's a lot of cars into the pits. And that now leaves a front 3 with Albon in 4th, Bottas in 5th.
Low fuel, so be
Pourchaire
mindful of
only up to
Okay.
P10 for the time being, though. So that is Joe. Sainz coming out ahead of him. How far ahead are they? It's only a couple seconds. It's only a couple seconds, and those guys are going to be faster. So what we need to do with Pourchaire, this is going to be a crucial moment in our race. We're going to go aggressive. We're going to go overtake. And we want to get around Ricciardo. And if we can, we want to make contact with Guan Yu
that.
Zhou.
Overtake is available if needed.
Can we get enough of a run here to not only get around Ricciardo, but to close the gap? Because it's out to 2.4 right now. And we leave this group behind, too, while we're at it. It'd be huge for our race if Pourchaire can manage to do that. But at 2.4 behind, I don't know if he's got it. Because if he went around with DRS and was all of a sudden 1.4, you figure, he can push and make up 0.4 of a second. not sure about this sort of gap. Yellow flag, sector 1.
That sounds like someone's
Norris
gone wide
runs
there.
wide. No, we are not making the kind of progress we need here to close those guys up. So, neutral, balanced, standard.
We want to leave court, please.
We tried. It was not happening. Joe actually already went around Magnussen. Ocon pits. He and Vettel are the last ones on mediums, and remember Vettel has already pit. He put on a fresh set of mediums at that point. But will pit probably within the next 2 or 3 laps. As that happened in the first 3 or 4 laps of the race anyway. And that puts Albon up to P3. You can see tire wear wise, he is right where the other front 4 are. With, looks like, the 3 front runners, plus Magnussen, Perez, and Porsche way down at 53%. Yeah, that's not good. He's going to be running a bit deep compared to others.
Red Bull
So
moved up.
Porsche has pushed pretty hard to get into the position that he's gotten into, which was essentially P11, 12, 13 area. He's going to struggle on tire wear here shortly, but he is going to wait to pit till when those guys pit.
And there's an overtake from Williams.
Albon, 1.2 ahead of Bottas. Bottas nearly has DRS. Let's go ahead and go aggressive. Let's drive away just a little bit here.
If you've got
see
any
if we
pace
can't.
left, it'll
We
be
want
good
to
now.
keep that gap over Bottas. And closing that down is not a good thing. Him getting DRS on us is not a good thing. Porsche 3 seconds behind Magnussen. Magnussen has not pit yet. No, he's another one of those have not pit yet, so that makes sense why those guys went around him. But Magnussen's gap, 3.7. Sure, go ahead and harvest.
That's a good overtake from Alpine.
Ooh. Porsche's bad weekend continues. He runs wide. At least he didn't spin out. That's where he spun out 3 times. That's the same corner where he spun out 3 times during practice. And then ran wide once. So now he's run wide in the race. At least it wasn't a spin. But it definitely cost us a little bit there. We were nearly a second down. We do get the DRS. That'll help us close that back up. We're neutral for now. I don't know why our battery is suddenly low. We had it up to almost 40%. Guess it just depended on what part of the track you're on. Albon's gap to Bottas has grown to 1.8. Doesn't go back to standard. Hamilton first on the hard compound to pit. It's going to bump Albon up a spot. We are still a couple laps away from our pit window opening. I do believe we have enough of a gap in between the two. We are 16 and 30, 16 seconds in between the two. Double stack would be absolutely no problem with this kind of gap between Porsche and Albon. But Albon somehow holding off this group behind him. I'm guessing there are cars back there that have pit already. Alonso has. Russell has. They are at the back end of this train. Leclerc now out alone. Now, Albin is already on his own and has been on his own for quite a while. We are 2 seconds ahead of Ocon, who has made it around Bottas. Ocon, remember, was in the front two with Guan Yu Zhou on the front row to start the race, and they have caught up to us. So, doesn't look like we're going to beat those two today, or Sainz for that matter, or Hamilton, as the front five, right? Those four plus Leclerc have been well ahead of Albin. Albin's race is for 6th place, assuming that there's no mistake or problems for that front five.
Okay, box. And go push.
Yeah.
Let's reduce lifting coast by 1 level.
Okay, Ricardo pits. He's the first of this group. We're going to go ahead and bring Pourchaire in as well, assuming that a lot of the other guys are going to pit right about now. So Pourchaire has pushed a bit deeper on that first set, on that first run, but it has worked out for him as he made a lot of progress and didn't lose anything after dropping below that 50% much sooner than those around him. He was able to keep up and pit at his expected time. So we'll tell him to attack here if he can go in ahead of Perez. Getting that little bit of an advantage over those guys could make a big difference on the pit stop itself. Podium at the end of it. Albin 2.6 seconds for his stop, and he will come back out somewhere. Pourchaire 2.6 for his stop. Albin P13. You got to be kidding me. There's no way he's that far down. From 6th to P13, there's a lot of guys that have not pit yet. So the undercut has worked for those who went medium hard. They have definitely succeeded in the undercut at this point, but what about later on in the race? Will they have the extra pace? Now on the mediums, will they have the extra pace to catch back up? Bottas pits. He will come out behind. Saw him exiting there 3 seconds ahead, so pitting when we did was an important move. That's P12, P16 for the time being. Let's find out how many are left. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 cars that have yet to pit. In the case of Albin, he has closed up to that group ahead of him. That includes those 2 guys that undercut him, and includes 2 guys that have yet to pit, and has enough momentum to carry right on through and get up beside Gasly. Any extra anything, and he does, and he's already up beside Perez. Oh, Perez squeezes him on the apex and then cuts him off on the straight as well. Okay, next up is Schumacher. The 2 that are pulling away from the group are the 2 that undercut us. We get around Schumacher quite quickly there. And now we're coming up on Russell, first of the undercutters. Pourchaire still P16 at the moment. We'll check in on his progress here shortly. While we're catching up to Russell, kind of gap that we have to him right now, it's already less than a second. And it's already more than a second to Schumacher. So we've left that group behind. They will not be a problem. Magnussen has not pit. He's the only one left ahead of us. We've dropped 2 positions, and we're looking at regaining one of those very quickly. Somebody has spun. Second run. Okay, checking in on Pourchaire. Pourchaire has caught Stroll.
It's a stonking lap.
Albin just set the fastest lap. Perez was the one who spun. So Red Bull is not going to get into the points today. And Pourchaire, aggressive.
Focus and push.
Cannot get the overtake, really? Even with DRS?
Use overtake.
And I know we got blocked there, but But we had more than enough time to recover from that and continue on. Stroll was really holding us up at the moment. Albin has gone around Russell.
Okay, that's good. That's
and
good.
is now 2 seconds behind Alonso. The undercut may have worked, but it's definitely not
So be mindful of that.
working out long term.
Okay.
Short term it worked. Finally, there you go. And Pourchaire is going to get around Stroll.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Alright, checking back in. I'm assuming we still have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, all 4 still there. Magnussen into the pits. Pourchaire should be moving up to P11 or 12. Magnussen very likely could come out ahead of us still. Remember, he had a pretty healthy gap to Pourchaire before. Pourchaire getting held up by Stroll definitely not going to help, but I think we will be comfortably ahead of 3 of these guys. Especially after Perez spun. So Albin, P8.
Okay, keep pushing, keep pushing.
He's back behind Russell. Russell got around him. Right. Pourchaire, how many overtakes can we make? There's a few guys still parked on pit road and 1 or 2 exiting. And there's the exiting one.
New option.
There's the exiting one. It's Magnussen. And we are awfully close. 1.4. Push. Aggressive. Close that up before he drives away.
We look at reducing the lift and co.
Okay, we've caught Magnussen. That's good, because Magnussen was clearly ahead of us. Doing well. It's P11, P12. Means there's still somebody out here. Magnussen's on the soft? Really? Huh. Well, good thing we've caught him. He won't have those tires left late. Even though he's got a big advantage on us now, he won't have pace late on. So if we can just stay with him, we can beat Magnussen pretty easily. Now Verstappen pits, and Pourchaire sets the fastest lap.
Good.
Taking that away from Albin is not great, though, because Pourchaire not guaranteed to score points today at all. Alright, gaps to leader. Front 5 have pulled way far away. Albin has gotten around Alonso and Russell, so let's get back into what's going on with him. We've got to try to drive away from those 2 who are on the hard compound, so that we are not stuck with them later, especially as our tires fall off. We saw that late in the medium runners that they lost some definite pace, so pulling those 2 around is not going to help us. We're going to need to get away from them. We've gotten away from Bottas, so that P6 is looking pretty good if we can get away from these 2. We're going to have to push to make that happen. And we'll have to pick our timing here to do that. This is definitely not the area, but at the end of this straight, if we're still ahead of them, especially if we can get them to kind of tuck back in, out of the way, that's going to be a good time to push.
We're happy to push on with the tyres.
And deploy through here. Can we get away?
Yeah. Deploy.
Right now it's only a quarter of a second. And we're not going anywhere with it at the moment. Okay, no, we've pulled out 2 tenths. We got it out to 6 tenths, but here comes that DRS. Pourchaire up to P11.
And there's an overtake
went around
from
Magnussen.
Williams.
3.5 seconds behind Ricciardo. What kind of compound is Ricciardo on? He's on the mediums. Z2 is on the mediums. But if Magnussen can pull us up to him, 6 tenths of a second, and we pull away from these guys. Come on, Albin. 7.
Keep your head down.
Following that last DRS zone, we have escaped at least a bit. 9 tenths.
With an overtake there.
We have enough time to get this over a second. 1.1. He might have done it. He may have done it. 1.3. Back to neutral. 1.6. New fastest lap for Albon. There you go.
Copy.
That's how you do it. Alright, standard. Let's drive
Lifting
away from
coast
those
level
guys
3.
now.
Copy.
We have better pace than them, so Alonso and Russell have been left
You can afford to drop
behind.
back.
Albon will be running alone
Yep,
in
okay.
P6 now for probably the remainder of the race. It's lap 42 of 53 already. We still have some more fuel recovery to happen. We're only about halfway done with that, and we're getting pretty late on here. Porsche behind Magnussen. Go ahead and conserve fuel. On the hard compound, we were making up fuel pretty fast. On the medium compound, not as much. We only underfueled by 1 lap. It's not much, and it does give you more pace. It absolutely gives you more pace. 4/10 behind. Magnussen not able to close up on Ricciardo, so looks like Porsche might miss out on points today. But remember, we did start from last place. Ouch on that one. Boy, that was close to losing DRS. Conserve. Okay, Albon's gap over Alonso is 2.1. Down to 0.4 for Porsche. He'll easily get it. I mean, that's... For him, it's not in doubt. Albon, still a little bit. 1.6 now to Alonso. Staying ahead of Alonso and Bottas and Russell is what's important for Albon. Down to 0.5 though, so we're getting close. Porsche nearly there, down to 0.4. Back to balance, pull it back out a little bit. They're almost within a second. And we're not pushing the tires, so that's going to be useful in the final laps as well. Speaking of, we're getting into the final laps. Okay, it's neutral for Porsche. Positive balance. If we can get it 2 to 3 tenths, we can pass Magnussen and push and get beyond him. And you never know, maybe we can get up towards Ricciardo. Okay, meanwhile, Porsche has gone around Magnussen.
Just gained by Williams.
Go aggressive. Save the battery, though. Can we get away from him? Back with Albon. Down to 1.5. So conserving is still allowing them to come back, even though we're driving more aggressive. But we're down to 0.2. We're almost there. Bottas just 1.1 behind now. He's gone around Alonso and gained that benefit of DRS, which gave him a bit of a speed boost. It almost got him within range here. But we're down to 0.1 on the negative. A couple laps to go.
From Williams.
Try to open that up briefly. Come on. Come on, Albon. Sector 1, yellow flag. Now Alonso getting that benefit. Hamilton runs wide, turn 3, and it drops him to P2. Ocon into the race lead. .0. Porsche has gone around Magnussen, but he's barely ahead of him. Push. And it's 0. It's 0. Balanced. Okay, we've done it. Albon.
Is that a new race position?
Albon got the fuel
perhaps?
right. Magnussen has gone around Porsche, though. It's only for P11 unless something happens here at the end with somebody else. Come back off. Nice lap. Hamilton back in the lead ahead of Ocon. After he ran wide, he's retaken the lead. All over the back of Magnussen. Okay, use the overtake.
Use overtake.
Got just over a lap to go here with Porsche. Albon starts his final lap.
And this is the last lap.
Gonna have to go neutral for him. And he's just gonna have to push, but he's 1.8 ahead of Alonso. He's done it. He has done enough. Pourchaire still stuck. Last lap. Sector 3, yellow flag. That's behind us. That's an Aston Martin with a problem. They locked up.
Looks like there's been
It's
a
Gasly, I
lock-up.
think. Yes, it is. Meanwhile, Ocon back around Hamilton with just a couple corners to go, and Leclerc is also here. So 3-man battle for not only the podium, but the win. And Ocon might have it in the Alpine on the last lap, probably with the help of DRS, I would imagine. And he is going to win. He is going to hang on. And that is a 1, 2, 3 finish for those three. Guan Yu Zhou is going to be disappointed in a 4th place. 5th for Sainz, the same 5 that dominated the race today. But Albon, a very good performance to get and keep and hang on to P6. Our fuel just right. It's almost out. We are going to reach the finish line in P6 and keep the fastest lap, it looks like. That's Bottas in 7th. Meanwhile, Pourchaire hanging on to P11. We've pulled away from Magnussen a bit. 8/10 of a second now ahead of him.
Go in lap.
But that is going to miss out on points. Ricardo takes the last points paying position. P10. Russell was 9. Alonso 8. Bottas 7. Pourchaire almost gets back up into the points today. Gains 9 positions. Not quite enough to get into the points though. Verstappen not scoring any points today was absolutely good for our chances, but I mean, come on. We're 70 points down. Leclerc moves ahead of Pourchaire, though they are actually level, 120 points apiece. Sainz also closing up on him a little bit there. In the constructors, 292 for Red Bull. We gained just 9 points today, and that's the difficult thing right now. We are not getting a lot of points as we focused on, improving our weakest areas, and we're suffering for it right now. We're not keeping up for sure. But Ferrari closing in on us. I think we might be heading for that P3, but I do think we're going to do enough to hold off Mercedes, McLaren, the rest of the way. Alpine, huge day for them. I mean, that's a 50% bonus to their points. 10 races to go in the season. We are into that second half, and everybody has scored. I mean, Aston Martin have 14 points this season, our 9th place. Haas just 9 points for them in 10th. Close battle between Alfa Romeo and Alfa Tauri. They closed that up quite a bit today, but I think we're good for P3, and we certainly have a shot at P2, but it's certainly not looking likely at this stage in the season. But our next round of upgrades are back to those parts that made us competitive in the first place. We'll see where those put us. I think we're still going to be a race or two away from having those, though, but they'll all come pretty fast, and we'll see a car that's going to be a bit quicker after that. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe. See you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.